everybody. Monty on Astral Oracles. Thank you for being here with me and for participating and contributing to the practice by commenting and liking and sharing and paying attention to what's coming through in these messages. I'm going to channel Vishnu on the self, but I'm also going to talk a little about this topic. It's been the ongoing topic over at Patreon, where you can sign up this month, but it's also been something that's very prevalent in my life. And when I talk about the self, I mean in general the mere circumstance of being somebody. Um, so the fact that I'm here, that I'm a body, and I'm an ego, I'm a mental composite, and I'm an energy body, and I'm a soul, and that goes for me, and that of course also goes for you to the same extent, but differently in your situation. Of course, that you're also an infinite soul having an experience as a mental being in a body. And that of course comes with some limitations, and that's challenging. And I think one of the main pulls of this practice and channeling in general, and for people who are into it, is of course also because it provides a different perspective on reality that can seem very liberating, comforting. And I think, for instance, an entity such as Cryon really has a lot of compassion with the human condition of being a self in a very beautiful way, and other entities seem to have a slightly lower degree of consideration for the fact that there are also some limitations that we experience as human beings. And of course, if you just shout, you create your own reality at people who feel that they're somehow also a little impeded in what they might be trying to create, then you're not necessarily addressing the issue where they're actually experiencing the issue, which is also on the level of limitations of the self. And that's also perhaps why I think it's so helpful to be to consider that we are translating this information back and forward, so the higher dimensions are interested in teaching us about becoming more empowered creators and more of our spiritual eternal selves, and we're at the same time also transmitting experiences back to them about what it means to be, let's say, lost in this experience, or walking through this maze of being an incarnated being. And those perspectives are trying to find each other in our individual experience. And what has been so beautiful, life affirming, meaningful for me in this practice to experience is also the very beautiful human beings that I've connected with through it, other people who resonated with this content and the sharing, and who has sort of become a part of my practice, um, and this whole unfolding, and that's very beautiful, and also because of course I I was probably seeking some escape from this mundane level of being a person and having to interact with people on that interpersonal level, and then so speaking to alien collectives is sort of a way of if not escaping, then transcending that experience, or the other way around, if not transcending, then escaping that experience of being an ego, to communicate with these entities, and at the same time then being brought back to the situation of being a self by communicating with people around this. But there are, of course, also just some limitations to being a self and existing in time and space. And one of them is a constraint of time. And so, even though I wouldn't be without the beautiful messages I receive, and I try to reply and respond to them as I can. I've also found that a lot of 2021 for me was caught up in replying to emails, and I whined and complained about it on the channel, and I really don't want to do that because I think it's so beautiful that people would also like entrust me with these communications and share their journey, and at the same time I'm finding that I don't have the hours anymore to plunk down and write long responses, and English is also a second language, and I don't enjoy writing it a lot. It has also a very weird logic of punctuation, which I'm sure my German friends can probably follow. Like, what's up with commas in English, right? It's just plunk them anywhere. But that's a whole nother story. So simply, what I'm trying to address is this conflict of really wanting to um, extend this type of universal love to all aspects where it's sort of also wanted in this existence, and at the same time being limited in a self, also in time and concentration and effort and energy, where there are simply just a lot of places where you have to, if not disappoint yourself, then disappoint other people. And in my life, I'm also finding, for instance, in family relationships and stuff, that there are just limitations where sometimes things aren't good for you, and you need to sort of choose between plague and cholera, as we say in Danish, that you need to make a choice between two unwanted options and figure out which one of them is sort of the most sound one to make in the long perspective. But that's always difficult, and I think like it's an ongoing theme. It's something that's underpinning a lot of this practice, and it's probably in many ways the central thing we're trying to locate is how how do I become better at being? How do I accept more of existing as me? And how do I stop longing and instead integrate these higher impulses, this deep love I also have within me, into this wounded world of limitations and difficulties? And I think that's a very interesting question. Essentially, it's the question of moral conduct, right? Like how to exist as a human being, informed by what is eternally true. And who better to speak about this with than uh, Vishnu, because Vishnu is the sustainer, right? He's the one who keeps the world going, existence going, the the game of the shapes going, and I would love to hear what he has to say about that. So I hope there was also something useful in that for you. Much love to you guys. Boundless, ceaseless love pouring forward from the cornucopia of eternity, from the hidden realms behind the shapes and manifestations of this world and these experiences. I come to you from this realm of overspilling beauty, love, sustaining all there is with this creative and life giving effort. I am Vishnu. This is the name you approach me by, and this is how I come to you this day, greeting you with a message of comfort. See, what This dear one, the individual that is now lending its voice to this message, what this dear one was circling before was the dilemma of feeling restricted in being, restricted in being somebody, restricted in being a body, restricted in not feeling sufficient in the tasks and requirements placed upon this body and this self, this individual center of agency operating in a world that it feels surrounded by. The world and the self, how do they relate to each other? Well, they are two aspects, inner and outer, beholder and beheld. These are different aspects of reality, and yet they are one and the same. This is a leap of faith that is required for all of you when you speak about creating your own reality. There is this sense that you need to come into a place where you can truly realize, truly manifest this. But it is circumstantial, it is an ontological, metaphysical truth that reality is created by the you that exists before you are born and after you die. The you that is infinitely you is the part that creates your reality. And the very game here is that, well, you create and reality are three aspects of the same unfolding, the same process of absolute truth. That is, there is a center, there is something flowing out of this center creation, and then there is the reality surrounding this center as the current. So much as you see the vortex within the whirlpool, that narrow space of openness within the twirling process, that intense centripetal force. Our friend here is pausing because he is wondering whether or not to use the word centrifugal or centripetal, but I was pointing to the image of a whirlpool. And so this is to sustain this image within you. It is the space within a whirlpool that is actually the column of you. This is the you. It is the force that twirls around you that is the creation. And it is the circumference of the whirlpool that is reality. And so you may sense, seated in the center, that when these elements stop spinning around you, that they begin weighing down on you. That when reality loses its momentum, when you grow in consciousness and begin to still these forces of creation, to the fact where all these 3 points of you are collapsing into one unity, then you are experiencing itself as you, the self, being destroyed, being submerged or into different, stronger forces around you. But rather, it is the unity emerging. And this means that it's a messy process, being a self. It is a constant merging. It is a constant being stirred. It is a constant collapsing and reactivation of these forces around you. This is indeed how the soul travels from lifetime to lifetime, but this is also how the mental being experiences itself. It is even on a bodily level repeated in the distinct stages of physical development and deterioration that is ingrained within the human physiognomy. So you find yourself at a place where you want to expand into the totality and yet you are seated with the feeling of collapse, feeling like the world is collapsing in upon you and that you need to reconstruct this, force this space within you, this blankness. But see, this is the ascension process of which you speak. This is understanding that there is no separation and existing within these more pragmatic or tentative, these shifting boundaries of reality, rather than distinct separations, rather than a core view, a reality, and a creative process. You are finding that, well, you are both the reality surrounding you, you are the process or the energy stirring and moving this reality, and you are the being experiencing this, the transcendental you, the witness. These are all aspects you can integrate. See how this is meant to help you practically is by addressing this issue that this dear one was describing, that it was hard for him to accommodate within the temporal realm his, say, idealism or aspirations towards also honoring the love that was offered to him by other people and returning their kind-hearted communications with responses of an equal measure. But what I am instructing him to do, or how I am instructing him to change his attitude in this, is to consider that, well, it is truly an energetic transmission. It is indeed the kind-hearted love within the being that is sent forward and received in the other human beings. Human beings are perfectly willing to accept the limitations of each other as long as they feel that they are being communicated with honestly and lovingly. And so the more that each of you can trust in this underlying loving intention actually merging into that vacuum you call you, and knowing that this will suffice, this will be enough in the situations where you feel that you are at odds with reality, that you are too limited in your ability to do anything or in time and resources. Here you may sense that love will suffice. Love will be the vibration that you will extend to this, and this will allow for reality to collapse into your space, attracting the solution that you wish, a solution that will hold an invitation to merge into higher degrees of love. Love being the emotion, the deep gratitude felt in every minute fragment, part, piece of total experience, that there is something worth cherishing in existence. You are cherished too by the heavens, by your creators, by deities that uphold this world. You are treasured, observed, and held by loving arms of infinite realms. From these realms pour forward wisdom, understanding, comfort, abundance, and warmth. Therefore, in love, I bid you farewell. I, Vishnu, I bless you this day with peace. It's a beautiful